Hey, this is Sam Black with Burn and Mater. I'm on the draw with a pretty ideal hand. I have a good mix of lands and spells and a solid curve with a single creature, which is basically exactly what you're looking for here. And I'm playing a matchup that I assume is pretty bad. We're going to need to make good use of this Skull Crack, and it's going to be hard to do something with this Searing Blaze. I'm going to find a mountain here, because this is going to be erased and my life total is going to be relevant. And I'm going to lead with Goblin Guide, because it does more damage than Swift Spear this turn. And my opponent's playing a deck with relatively few lands. The odds of hitting are lower, and I also just have to do as much damage as fast as I can here. My opponent's drawing a Core Spirit Dancer, which is a little bit good for me because it's something that I can target with Searing Blaze. And my opponent played it here, so that was a great start for me. Rather than doing something with this Slippery Bogle, the Spirit Dancer is in play, where it can get blazed. Here I think I am going to just take 2 off the Sacred Foundry to hold this in case I want to get a Stomping Ground if I draw Target's Command. So I'm going to pay 2 life, and I definitely can't afford to not kill the Spirit Dancer. And then I'm going to attack with the Goblin Guide. And I gave my opponent a Temple Guard. Alright, that's not lifelink, so that's good. Alright, my opponent has a big guy. But it's not stopping me from winning. And now, I might actually just, yeah, now I can definitely do 9. I think I could before, but now I can play Swift Spear, Spike, Spike, and even ignoring the guide, that's lethal. Alright, so that game went fairly ideally in that my opponent played a Spirit Dancer into my Searing Blaze and didn't play any life gain enchantments. So it was pretty easy, although my opponent did get me pretty low despite that. So here obviously I'm going to want Destructive Revelry to deal with the enchantments, especially the life gaining enchantments. I obviously want to keep all of my things that prevent life gain. I'm pretty sure I don't want Searing Blaze. It performed well that game, but I don't see any reason my opponent will allow that to happen again. And for my next cut, I have mixed feelings on Eidolon of the Great Revel. I think it's probably not where I want to be. At least not in large numbers. I think that it's too likely that my opponent can lock me out with it, or block it, or stop casting spells after having established a clock, and that it will not be good, especially since I'm on the draw. So I'm going to bring in Lightning Helix over 1. I'm going to play the other 2 just because I think all the other cards on my sideboard are very bad. But it is possible that I should be cutting the last 2 for Searing Blaze or even Core Firewalker. But I'm going to try 2 out because I'm not super confident that it's bad. But I think this is roughly how I'm supposed to be sideboarding for this matchup. So here I'm on the draw with a 1-land hand against a mulligan. I have a lot of life gain prevention if I draw a second land. On one, I can play Goblin Guide, and then I can suspend Riftbolt if I don't draw another. I didn't draw any sideboard cards, but my assumption is that you have to keep this kind of hand with this deck on the draw. On play, I might mulligan, but I don't think I can here. I think I have to just hope that I draw a land in the first couple turns. If the Skullcracks were worse burn spells, it might be different, but given that they're one of my primary ways of interacting, I think this hand is just too good to pass up on. So I'm going to get a Sacred Foundry here, so that I can be able to cast my spells if I draw land. And of course lead with Goblin Guide. Yield a Hyena Umbra. My opponent played a Spellskite, which is good at blocking, but doesn't really do anything to most of my spells, except this Riftbolt. So I'm not going to attack with Goblin Guide this turn. And I think I can just suspend Riftbolt here. My opponent can redirect it with Spellskite, but that'll cost 2 life, and then maybe I get to hit with the Goblin Guide. So that all seems fine. Now I'm going to take a hit from the Scout. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to Riftbolt my opponent and see what happens with the Spellskite. There's a case to be made for going for the Dryad Arbor, but I don't think it's worth it. So redirect the Spellskite. And that's very good. So now I'm going to attack with the Goblin Guide. Let's see what happens. Opponent drew a Spider Umbra. Alright, and I kill the Dryad Arbor. So now, if I want, I can take this opportunity to resolve Lightning Helix. I target my opponent with it, and then if my opponent wants to redirect, my opponent still loses 2 life and the Spellskite dies. So presumably it would just put my opponent to 11, I go to 16. And I'd be holding plenty of burn. And I gain life that way. The alternative is to hold up Skullcrack to stop my opponent from gaining life. On the theory that that's the easiest way for me to lose. Because I can kind of easily outrace just the 3/3. And I have enough burn that I don't care about enough burn that goes directly to my opponent that I don't care about the Spellskite. Or am I one short? I guess Skullcrack, Boros Charm is 10 and Lava Spike is 13. So I do need one more point. I guess the fact that I need one more point is a reasonable argument for playing the Helix. Alright, I'm gonna get a mountain because I think I can win with the spells in my hand, so I don't care if I draw an Atarka's Command that I can't cast. And I'm gonna Lightning Helix my opponent. And regardless of whether this gets redirected, my opponent's in range of my other spells. But I do expose myself to this life gain here. So that's a big problem. Alright, so well, now a land will let me Atarka's Command as another Skullcrack. But I'm basically at a point where I just have to prevent my opponent from gaining life every turn and hope to successfully win in time, which is not going to be easy. The opponent has no hand, which makes me think that I probably... if I go to 2, then I can't fetch an untapped Stomping Ground. No, I have to block this, or I think I have to take this. I think I want to be able to block it when it's lethal. So I'm just gonna take the hit. Yeah, I'm gonna play Skullcrack and take the hit. And now I have to chump block and play Skullcrack. And there's no way that I can cast enough spells in time at this point. I'm not going to win this game. Yeah, here I can't both block, and I'm just dead. I guess my opponent's bringing in Spellskite, Smash the Smithereens might be better than Eidolon of the Great Revel. Now, instead of having a card that's mediocre to bad, I have a card that's potentially very good. Of course I want to go first, and this hand is very good. Again, 2 lands and 1 creature and then all burn spells is basically ideal. I think it is correct to get a non-basic land here because I have more cards that require non-red in my deck now than before, so I'm going to want to be able to cast all of them. And I don't know which color to get, so I need to get both. So I have to use my 2 lands on getting those things. now I can get a mountain because I have a third land that can get something else. And I think it is worth getting a mountain. So I'm going to attack. Cast Lightning Bolt because I can get 4 damage out of it now. And then suspend Drift Bolt. And my opponent didn't do anything. I think I just go for the win here. 10 plus 4 plus 6. Or, sorry, not 10 plus 4. 10 minus 2, prowess is 4, and then 3 and 3. I have 10 damage and my opponent has 10 life. Suppose Path to Exile is a concern, but not one that really punishes me for doing this. But that is what my opponent has. Okay, so get my last mountain, resolve Skullcrack, and now I'll suspend Drift Bolt instead of casting Shard Volley. That does not gain life. So I win. That's the match.